morning. How are we doing? Yeah. I know it's been a long morning, so thanks for hanging with us, and leave it to the creatives, the athletes, the entertainers, the musicians to close it with a bang. I know that we may be in New York City, but we have Hollywood and Nollywood's finest on the stage with us today.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you, when we were kids, if we told our future selves what we were doing, I think our parents would be shook.
Absolutely.
Totally.
They're like, what? No, doctor, lawyer, engineer, but it really shows you the potential of creative economies. And we start our conversation today, and I want to start with you, Djimon, because your accolades are just through the roof.
Oh.
I know most of you have seen him in Gladiator, Guardians of the Galaxy. I personally could not watch A Quiet Place. I can't do horror. But you always come back home. Why are you so passionate about African storytelling?
Oh, wow. Africa's storytelling is everything. I mean, history is through the lens that we see into the future. And in order for Africa to have a voice, we necessarily need to be able to drive that content, right? And so my goal is to be able to tell my story in a way that I could also, where my neighborhood could be, is relevant in the storytelling. And that's imperative. It's imperative for our development. It's imperative to own your story, because otherwise, who is going to tell your story? Right? And so I'm still in debating how do we bring about this universal instrument, which is distributing your content. And so that is where I'm championing the idea that we need to have a platform that can talk about us, show us, and in ways that would uplift the youth of tomorrow.
And the good news is that the solution is on stage with us today. Mo, not just an extraordinary producer, a visionary, an entrepreneur, a mentor, she's also my big auntie back home in Nigeria. And she identified a problem in entertainment and has provided solutions. Can you describe what those are?
Chiney, good afternoon, Jill. To our audiences, good afternoon. It's wonderful to be here with you all. Any chance I get to talk about our creative economy, I always accept. And I said I had to be at the Global Forum 2025. And Masai said, Mo, you got to be here. And here I am. And, for me, when I look at our creative economy on the continent, now every society has its problems, right? Africa obviously has its own. But I think within those problems, those challenges, lie also the opportunities. And it's for us to say, how do we take those challenges and how do we turn them into opportunities? So what are the key challenges in the creative economy? There's capacity building, right? There's funding, right? There's distribution, right? So those are some of the main challenges that we face. So rather than be a part of the problem, and rather than come to another event where all you do is talk about the problem, let's actually start to find practical ways through which we can address those challenges. So I got into this industry, 20 years ago when I was turning 40. Everybody thought I was having a midlife crisis. But I realized that there was a gap in our storytelling. I realized that we weren't taking control of the narrative of telling our own stories. We have a responsibility to do so, because if not, whatever stories are being told, we need to stop complaining and take more active steps. So what we have done over the years is we've set up EbonyLife Media. We've made some of the largest films that have gone to the Nigerian box office. We have been Netflix's largest partner on the continent. Although now we are launching our own streaming platform, by the way, because I think it's important that we not only just own the storytelling, but also the channels through which we tell the stories are also equally important, right? We are also working with the IFC and the AFDB on a film fund. Because again, one of the largest challenges we have faced is funding of African film, right? So the only way to resolve that issue is to go to those that can fund and say, how do we fund? Yes, it's been a couple of years of working with them, but, DFIs take their time because they've got to, dot all the I's and cross the T's. So with IFC and AFDB, we're looking at a film fund that can help African films to scale. Now, the other major challenge we also have is distribution. If you have all the money in the world and you can't distribute those films globally, you might as well never have made the film. Yes. So for the last few months, we've been working with Sony Pictures Releasing International. It's actually historic. We've just signed an agreement whereby they would distribute the films from the film fund, African films, to a global market.
Wait, that's huge. Please repeat. Please repeat.
We've just signed a historic agreement with Sony Pictures International. Sony Pictures Releasing International, whereby the films that come from the Afro Film Fund, selected films will have global distribution. Now, our producers deserve the right to be celebrated, to be showcased, but also to monetize, right? Now, show business is a business, right? It is a trillion-dollar industry in the United States. We have to say, how do we as Africans tap into that? By the year 2050, we're saying that 1 in 4 people in the world is an African, right? And we have the youngest youth population in the world. How do we start to empower our youth? One of the lowest hanging fruits is going to be our creative economy. If you look at what's happening in the world of Afrobeats, they have enabled themselves. You can imagine if the infrastructure was there, the types of activities and the things that we could do to continue to scale. So for us as EbonyLife, we're playing a role when it comes to capacity building. We're working with Lagos State Government on offering free training to up-and-coming filmmakers because the skills are critical. Funding is also key. We're working with the IFC and the AFDB on funding for a film fund. Distribution, we're launching a streaming platform. We have said to ourselves, let us do this for us. Now, we're not trying to be the next Netflix, no. But what we are trying to be is a platform that is built for Africans on our continent and Africans in the diaspora. Now, let me give you a quick example. If Netflix gave me $1 to make a movie, and they gave someone in America $100 to make a movie, if you go to Netflix, you can see the top 10 films most watched. In Africa, what is more watched? The $1 movie, right? So we don't need $1 billion to make this become a reality. We get in the trenches and we know how to produce at cost-effective prices. I'm not saying we're not going to do quality, but we know that it's easier for us to build a platform with far less than it would cost for us to try and be the next Netflix. We want to be the next thing that we can be for Africa by ensuring that our stories travel, the narrative is told, and that people around the world can actually have a taste of who we are.
That's truly beautiful. And, you highlight a couple of things that I think are important to come to mind. One, this idea of investments. I want to remind people that literally investments are living investments. You're typically investing in the person, not necessarily simply the business. And then secondly, the idea of markets. We talk about the youth and the potential. We're Nigerians here. 60% of our population under 30 years old. But there is an opportunity gap for them to realize their dreams. There's a crisis of confidence for them to see their dreams become reality. And you mentioned some of the grassroots elements or even infrastructure developments when it comes to entertainment. But I firmly believe that we have to support our own at the highest levels. And Djimon, you are someone who has had Oscar nominations. You have been at the peak of Hollywood. But one thing that I noticed recently was your vulnerability in explaining your honest experience of not truly feeling supported despite being the best at your craft. How do we fix that for the future?
I think we have to embrace the youth and champion the youth to... this is the 4th industrial revolution, and we're not creating digital content, digital media. And that is our biggest challenge. How do we elevate the spirit of the youth without content? And that's the greatest challenge here, is to try to, for our leaders to understand the importance of telling your story, right? And it's been the most challenging thing for me to knock on people's door, to trying to raise money to literally tell your story, or raise money to be able to distribute. And I'm thinking that, kind of like Mo said, distribution Yes, we've been talking about it, but distribution is absolutely vital for our survival. So if you don't have that instrument, that universal instrument to tell your story, you pretty much cease to exist.
And you mentioned the story, and I started off talking about our childhood selves, our origin story, because I still believe in some ways, despite what the WNBA is doing right now, owning the main topic and the main narrative, I believe that people sometimes don't look at sports or music or entertainment or fashion as a serious business. But I was fortunate to sit with Masai at dinner yesterday, and he mentioned the late, great Dikembe Mutombo. And when I was thinking about those two giants of Africa, the first word that comes to mind is he's a multiplier. Just by his passion, he's multiplying opportunity. Africa is the only place, one of the few places where you can get multiples of your investment because it's just now beginning in a way that we're finally being seen. And so I go back to you, Mo. You have created content at the highest levels. You are creating a platform that is servicing us. What is the case for people to understand that the creative economy is serious business and not a sideshow?
It's to look at the numbers. We've done the numbers. I'm happy to engage with any strategic partners that want more information on the numbers. But just look at the numbers on the continent. I mean, look at the numbers of people in Nigeria. And I think it's also making sure that we look to see what has been done before by our predecessors and by everyone else that's come into our economy and say, what do we take away as the lessons learned? And some of the key points are the cost of data. And we're talking about distribution now, right? Cost of data. You've got to find ways in which you can deliver content at an affordable cost. You've also got to deliver the actual package in terms of the platform also at a reasonable cost. You've also got to give them the types of stories that they want to watch. It is a numbers game. You know, if you look at what's happened with the telcos in Nigeria, I know that many years ago, somebody sent another company into Nigeria to do some research on how many subscribers do they think they will get if they launch a telco. And the guy said, forget it, nothing's going to happen because they don't, you know, they're poor. Their GDP is this, that, and the other. I think he got fired in the end because MTN came in and then Airtel and all the others. And we've seen the average Nigerian has 3 phones. They literally have an MTEL line, an MTN line, an Airtel line, and a Glow line, right? And they service those phones with data. We love storytelling. We are a community of storytellers. So you have an audience sitting right there. I think keep it affordable, keep it interesting, keep it fun. Marketing is extremely important, and I think we are going to win. We're going to win with our stories on the continent and with our stories going viral around the world. We've done it with music, and we can definitely do it with film, and we're definitely doing it with fashion. So I think all the key ingredients for success are there. We just need the us's, you know, to think and say, how do we execute? How do we deliver? You know, and we've got to remember that as a continent, people expect the worst of us. We've got to ensure that they see the best of us and putting our best foot forward and ensuring that whatever we do, the stories are told in a way and manner, I call it sexy, but in the right way, you know, that it's sleek, it's clean, the production values are there. And I keep saying that as a continent, we have been quiet for the longest time. How many of our stories have been told? Hardly any. So there are tons, there's a treasure trove of stories that we can take to the globe. And they're going to be fascinating. And what I love about your generation, you guys don't care where the story comes from. Just give me a good story and you guys are good. Give me good fashion and you're good. Give me good music and you're good. And you know what? We have tons of that on the continent. And this is really our moment to shine. And it's important for us to go out there and share that culture, that authenticity with the world.
Completely agree. And now she's speaking my language because she talked about winning the game, and I'm like, yes, coach, period. Before we close, in basketball, I always bring things back to hoops because obviously in basketball, we have this concept about shooting your shot. And I always love a call to action because if we're here, we should collaborate and people should know how to directly support you. So Djimon, shoot your shot and tell people how they can support you in your endeavors in the future. Oh, we got to hold the follow-through, but
You know, Mo has said so much and obviously has done so much, but at the end of the day, I think I'm really championing for Africa to have its own distribution platform in order and there to collaborate with the international, other international platform. Because there's, like you said, there's so many stories, and some of those stories are, you know, may make the West a little shy because, of course, we have stories of colonization, we have stories of, you know, where Africa, you know, just recently got liberated, you know, and when you, I have a sort of like Kwame Nkrumah, who was the first president to openly champion the idea of Pan-Africanism, right, had said for Africa to be liberated, we necessarily need to be able to tell our own stories. And that's where we are. And so with that distribution platform, like Mo said, if you can have all the money in the world and go and produce your film, at the end of the day, you need that platform to be able to distribute comfortably without, you know, anybody telling you, or, you know, sort of like a, you know, limiting you, right? So we're trying to get away from that limitations.
Well, to quote a legend, Nelson Mandela said, "It always seems impossible until it is done," right? So we have a responsibility to do it. And my taking a shot is that we're building the platforms. We're telling the stories. Anyone here that feels that they want to come on that journey with us, whereby we can together really and truly take our stories to a global space that we can be proud of, so that when you are seen as an African and someone says, what do you think of Africa? It will be words of joy and gladness and success, and, you know, because this is us. We're very aspirational as a people. So my call to action is, please reach out if you want to be a part of the journey, because we're here and we are on the journey already. Thank you.
And my final call to action is to definitely support our young women and girls. Last year, Masai, his team, my uncle here, inspired me to launch my own foundation, Queens of the Continent. A lot similar to Giants of Africa, but on a girl scale to start. But we just had our first camp and clinic that really centered around leadership and opportunity. Being Nigerian, you learn these staggering numbers. Every room I go into, I tell people this. Every year a girl advances in school, she increases her earning potential in Nigeria by 10%. If you want to change the world, you invest in girls. Did you know that women and young girls invest back into their families 90% of what they make, compared to the men who only do 35%?
All right.
What y'all spending? But the truth is that if you want to change the future, you invest in those who actually birth the future.
Absolutely.
And create opportunities through education.
Yeah.
Sport became a platform for me to get to the highest of highs. And I'm so grateful for that, because I had parents that are, my dad's a girl dad, my mom's an amazing educator, that understand the value and the power and the potential of girls. And you mentioned the Pan-Africanist Kwame Nkrumah. This has been a sensational day. And he said that I am African not because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. Hopefully today, Africa was born in you, as we celebrate the power and potential and the promise of the future that has arrived today.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Thank you so much.